welcome to The Trade. Let's get you caught up what traders are watching out there. President Biden, French President Emmanuel Macron expected to announce a ceasefire in Lebanon. This between armed group Hezbollah and Israel. This according to 4 senior Lebanese sources. And of course, the key news that we are watching has just broken on Truth Social, with US President-elect Donald Trump saying he'll impose tariffs on all products coming into the US from China, Mexico and Canada. Trump saying he'll put 25% tariff on goods from Mexico and Canada and will impose an additional 10% tariff on goods from China. Let's now get into some of the charts, or I guess the themes that we really want to look at when it comes to the technicals. And the legendary Stan Druckenmiller is renowned for never having had a down year throughout his whole career. Does he face the same problems as any other investor, or is he different? Well, to tell us, Mandi Rafsanjani from tradingpsychology.com.au. Mandi, great to see you. What does Stan know that we don't?
Hello, Julia. It's so great to be here. Yes, he is quite fascinating, isn't it? And I mean, who doesn't want to have a trading life where you never have a down year? And the thing is that most traders, they think that there's something wrong with them, that they're flawed, and that's the reason why they can't be successful. And at the same time, they think that, the market wizards like Linda Rushke and Stan Druckenmiller, that they have these superpowers, that they have eaten discipline as babies with a mother milk or something. So something that is not attainable to them. But the reality is, if you study Druckenmiller and if you study all the successful traders, they have the same challenges like we all do. They get disappointed in themselves when they screw up. They get angry, they get annoyed, they get FOMO. Everything that we experience, they experience as well. But the difference is, as you all know, they handle them differently.
So how does Druckenmiller then handle some of these challenges differently, and what can we learn from him, Mandi?
Yeah, I found it really fascinating. There's so much I could talk to him about. I could talk about him for a whole day, but I've really condensed it down to the 5 key principles that I think is most important. He ruthlessly cuts his losses, and you hear that over and over again. And the way he does it, he says, trading is already so stressful. If I'm in a drawdown, it adds to more stress. And he's really conscious of taking care of his mental and emotional capital to make sure they're both in top shape so that his financial capital can also be taken care of. And he doesn't argue with the market. He's not like a teenager arguing with parents. That's what most traders do. They argue with the market. They're in a losing position and they try to fight for it to get out in a profit. No, he just gets out and he doesn't even ask twice.
It can be hard to know when to fold him, so to speak, though, Mandi. How do you think he cuts his losses so quickly?
Yeah, that's also I found really interesting. So there's 2 parts to it. One is he has this massive mental agility, which is, so his famous quote is, "My success is not based on me never making mistakes or always getting it right. No, it's me on changing my mind really quickly and cutting my losses." And what that means is that he tries easily to get into a trade, and if it doesn't play out, he gets out straight away. So this is the mental agility, and what enables him to be mentally agile is his decisiveness. That means he doesn't argue about price in terms of, like how many times did we see an entry at $100 and then it goes to 115, and we're like, oh no, I want price to go back to $100 before I take that trade. He doesn't think like that. Even if the trade has moved a lot, he still gets in, again, because he's not afraid of taking a loss or making a mistake, because he knows he can cut it straight away.
Now, we mentioned he hasn't had a down year, Mandi, but in 1999, he lost $600 million within 4 weeks. That's money that many of us will probably likely never see. How do you sort of face a loss like that, then bounce back and be up over the year?
Yeah, this is also one of his superpowers. And I also see that with Linda Rushke and some other of my really amazing traders who, when they don't perform well, they just keep looking for the opportunities. That's their focus. They don't dwell on the past. And so what Druckenmiller does is he always has a few horses in the race. And he cut his $600 million. I think that was his really first one, big drawdown. And I think he never had a big drawdown like that ever again. So that's where he most probably learned all these trades. And so he then got into the NASDAQ and he wrote the NASDAQ up. the big NASDAQ wave and came out at the end of the year with a 40% profit. So amazing.
All right, amazing indeed. Now, you talk about him being competitive. He's obviously very strong-willed, but there's obviously a difference here with those traits and then being arrogant, which Druckenmiller says you should not be. So tell us, for regular people, how we should try and balance a lot of those traits.
Yeah, again, super interesting how he thinks about these situations when we want to hold on to traits and argue with the markets. He calls that arrogance. And what he does is he is very competitive, but he's competitive with himself. So he doesn't argue with the market, he argues with himself. If he thinks he missed an opportunity he could have done better, that's when he gets disappointed in himself, and he uses that energy, that disappointment, that anger to work on himself, to come out even bigger and better and to improve on that. And arrogance is saying, well, I got it all covered, I'm right, and not wanting to look for how can I improve. I mean, you know, Juliet, so many traders ask me, do you only work with traders who are not doing well? No, I'm actually having a big percentage of traders who already are doing well and want to improve. I mean, I just had a trader who had his first $1 million day, and he didn't stop. He's like Kobe Bryant. He's like, the job is not done. Let's work even harder on looking at how we can repeat that, because everybody can be a one-day wonder, right? But he wants to be a consistently $1 million a day trader. I mean, it's a really big goal, but yeah, that's how these guys think and how they are driven.
So we just bring up that chart that you gave us before, the graphics in terms of some of the top things you've learned from Druckenmiller. Mandi, what would be the most important there?
I would say really his mental agility. So his ability to change his mind quickly and cut his losses, because when you do that, you don't need to be afraid of getting into a trade and making a mistake. And what I see with most traders who are not doing so well, they're afraid of making mistakes. They're afraid of giving money back. But when you know you can trust yourself to manage your downside, I mean, it's not rocket science. We already know that. It's just practicing it. When you really can trust yourself that you manage the downside, then you can probe the trade, and then get the big runs. And this is why so many successful traders, they only have a profit-loss ratio of 35-40%, right? They have a lot of little tries, and then they get the big runs. So it's really the ability to change your mind quickly and looking forward, being opportunity focused rather than dwelling on the past and, delving in the pain of it.
All right, Mandi, thanks so much. Mandi Rafsanjani from tradingpsychology.com.au. All right, that does it for this edition of The Trade. Be sure to join us tomorrow.